Hi, everyone. This is Sanna Carapellotti, lifechangingenergytherapies.com. I want to begin by asking you a question, and that is I want you to imagine for a moment to think how hard it has been to stop eating junk food. If you've tried, it is so hard. It's easy to get so wrapped up into it because we don't really notice it until we feel the pain in the body of overeating or the effects that the food has had on us. So part of it is what I want you to know, and this is really important, is that you are not weak or dumb or stupid. There are some factors that are at play here that we're going to discuss today that can give you some relief. And I'm going to give you a couple of solutions that can be really helpful to you as well, things that you can do on your own at home. So I just want to share, I help people primarily in 4 areas: stress, trauma, struggles, current life trauma, as well as inherited trauma, eating stress. So I do also family table trauma, things that happened during childhood at the table. I work with performance, professional athletes, test taking, and I also do a lot of surgery empowerment and recovery, and also assistance with physical therapy. So today what we're going to talk about are the cues and the cycles of hypereating. Now, somebody posted after I posted a couple hours ago, asking what is hypereating. And basically what I think it is that it's a movement where we can't stop the intake of the food until we reach a certain saturation point or a feeling of satiety. So, and it's usually around a junk food, a manufactured food in the category of sugar, salt, fat, or another synthetic food. And sometimes even regular foods like bread, pasta, fried chicken, and so forth. Haven't had anybody come in with a broccoli issue yet. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because I really think it's so important to me that you know that this isn't that it's personal because of the effect that it has on your life, your quality of your health, the quality of your health, how well you think, even your mood swings. So there's 4 factors that I'm going to talk about today. Then we're going to talk about these predictable cues that occur, and then I'm going to give you a couple of solutions. So the first thing, I realized yesterday that I can't sit and talk, and I stutter and stammer, and I need to have boards. So I will be kind of up and down here and scribbling so that you can see and kind of even take some notes if you want to. So the important thing to know is that you are subconsciously primed to hypereat. Okay, not only because of how the foods are manufactured, okay, because as I said in a live on Wednesday, the manufacturers study how to make the foods interact with the brain so that the food affects changes in us fairly quickly. And what you're going to realize today is that that is one of the factors that keeps us going. So first of all, I'm going to talk about this cycle here and some aspects of it so that you can realize how easy it is for you to get pulled into hypereating. Okay, so first of all, there are cues that occur there, and we'll talk about these in a few minutes. Well, we can talk about them now. Okay, so the cues that occur are these issues right here. So when things are manufactured, okay, they're thinking about it from a multisensorial way, in a multisensorial way, okay, in that the more that you take in the food through all of your senses, okay, the more potent the experience. Okay, so take a listen to this here. Okay, I'm feeling excuse me, how smooth this bag feels and how good it feels in my hand. Okay, now listen to the crunch. Okay, now I want you also to listen to the crunch of the chip. Okay, it sounds, excuse me, it sounds very familiar. So I've taken these chips in tactily, as well as there's a certain mouthfeel that occurs. So, so there's also there's also the language that we have about chips and the imagery that we have. So you might be driving home from work and you're thinking about the chips that are in the cupboard. Okay, so you have this monologue going on in your mind that you can't wait to get home. Then all of a sudden your brain starts crafting images about how you are in your chair and you're experiencing the chips. Okay, you might see the bag, you might see yourself eating. Okay, the other piece here is that the more emotional you are when you approach the chip, okay, the more that you create this memory and attachment to it. So if you look at it this way, okay, so here you are kind of moving along your day. Okay, then all of a sudden there's a spike in your day where you're stressed. If you go for chips around this time, because it generally takes a couple hours for the cortisol and the stress hormones to leave the body. So if you engage in food here, then you're creating this memory that will be repeated. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so if you're stressed, okay, when you eat and go for food, then you're setting yourself up for difficulty, because then you're pairing stress with this hyperfood and the reward and the relief. Okay, so then the other piece here is that the more it gets repeated. So think about your day like we did yesterday. We were raising consciousness. That's the first important piece to creating change. So the more you repeat, you sit down, you grab the bag of chips, and you sit in front of the TV. If you do that every night, every time you do it, especially if you're coming home from work and you're exhausted and you're tired, you sit down, you grab the chips, turn on the TV. All of that gets paired and gets kind of imprinted into this experience that goes into the memory. So every time you repeat it, it becomes automated. Okay, and this is so critically important for you to know this, because okay, imagine this. Okay, so everybody here drives, I'm assuming. So I want you to think about, okay, if you had to get into your car every day and relearn how to drive, okay, most of us would probably have stopped driving a long time ago. So it's the same thing with this vicious cycle that occurs, okay, in that when these aspects are a part of it, then you're setting up a priority in the brain functioning. So the more it gets repeated, it becomes a part of your memory experience, and it's actually rewiring your brain. Okay, now no problem, because it's not a problem from my perspective, so there's no need to be concerned, because the things that I do in my work in this workshop literally change the brain and free you from all of this as we nudge it up to awareness and neutralize all of these pieces here. Okay, the other piece here is that the greater the reward, okay, so if you're highly stressed, okay, and the greater the relief here, where, I don't know about you, but I remember when I used to go for this stuff, there was like a relief. Okay, I knew when I was done, I couldn't take in another piece. So the greater the dip or the energy rise, the greater the reward. See, then that is also a part of that cueing. Okay, so all of this stuff that we talked about, the more it goes into the body, the more emotional you are, the more often you repeat it, the greater the reward at the end. And keep in mind, this reward is very temporary. Okay, so is the greater the attachment to the process. Okay, so we have these cues. Okay, then we also have the mind part of it. Now, I want you to think about the strategies here of the marketing and sales of these products. Okay, I bet you can't eat one. I'm sure everybody on here who's at least, I don't know if they still do that now, but knows what a product that is related to. They set these things up so that they grab our attention, so that they literally become a part of our lives, a part of our thinking process. And so then you not only have what they're implanting into you, but you also have the part of rest. Okay, and they know, and they hire neurologists to do this, where they know exactly how much sugar, salt, fat, and they work on these products for years to switch on the reward system of the brain. Okay, and that allows us to keep going back to the products that create a memory, because it's automated within us. Now, how many times have you sat down, you got up, you went about your evening or your day, and you don't even remember eating the food? Because see, our habits are imprinted into us. We don't think about it, just as all of the other habits that we have, that we create in our lives. Because honestly, if we had to relearn everything all the time, habits aren't a bad thing. So we would be kind of stuck on Groundhog Day, maybe. So they actually did a study, and this is really important to know here about the stress issue. They did a study where they played this dark, foreboding music, and they had everybody bring up a memory of something that was really difficult or depressing or stressful or whatever. And so then what they did is they presented them, they created this anticipatory response, like anticipatory response, or kind of set them up that next they would be given a snack food. So where they were measuring brain activity, and what they found out was really fascinating, is that just thinking about the food, okay, increased the reward center of the brain. So they were already anticipating this relief that we're talking here. Now, the other piece that's really, really important is that if you're a non-emotional eater, now I'm not talking about loving something, I'm talking about stress, being upset, angry, disappointed, needing comfort. Those are the things that drive us to hyper eating. Okay, so those people, the reward center doesn't light up. So if I were to say to somebody, who's really stressed, let's go grab a milkshake, like, to me, that wouldn't faze me because I don't have this attachment going on for it, and I'm not looking for relief. Okay, so I hope that makes sense to you. That the question I always ask is, who are you bringing to the table? Who are you bringing to this eating experience? If it's your stressed out self, then you are going to have a lot of difficulty. So the important thing that you need to know is that you can change this. Okay, I changed it within myself. And as I said in a previous live, it was a little harder for me because I don't have the skills and the education that I have now using emotional freedom technique, hypnotherapy, other like NLP, somatic experiencing, and on, because when I work with somebody with these issues, especially in the workshop that's upcoming next Saturday, is we look at what's happening with you, okay? And what is it that created this experience for you? Now, this isn't group therapy and it's not a lecture. It's a real workshop where you literally bring your food to class. So, so I want to talk about like a couple of things that you can do. Okay, so number one, vigilant awareness. We talked yesterday about the importance of being aware of your habits. If you didn't have a chance to look at that, take a look and go through the little exercise and get to know yourself in these moments when you are automated, literally, so that you can become conscious of it, because this is a key, very critical step to knowing what exactly that you need to do. So when you get cued, like for example, another issue too with these bags, when you pop it open, there's a wafting of fragrance. So as soon as you get cued, whether it's the sound, you walk past a bakery, or you notice, because those are external cues coming into the system versus stuff that's happening internally with you where you might be really stressed. This is a very critical time where you can make some important decisions to change your behavior. And those are things that, like when you pause here before you launch, okay, then this gives you back your power. Okay, so these three things here, your sensory signals, okay, what's happening in your body? How are you taking in this experience? Think about it memory-wise, think about it as the sensory cues. Let's see, what else was there? How are you thinking about it? What is that language? Okay, those are going to cue you in to the experience. Okay, what is the amount of stress that you have? Okay, you have options to manage your life no matter what it is. And we go through that in the workshops. There are things that you can do that are literally under a minute that are highly effective at changing the nervous system as well as the brain. Okay, and then the memory that you have created around the food is so critical. If you look at chips and you start salivating and you start thinking about that, you see, you're attached to it. Okay, there's an emotional connection to it. Now, it's certainly okay to have a bowl of chips. Okay, if you can be honest with yourself to say, well, see, and that's the other piece here is this mental script. Okay, how many times do we say, well, I'll just have a bite. We know we can't have a bite. Okay, I'm just going to have a bowl of chips. And all of a sudden we find ourselves walking back to the cupboard. So again, the mental script, and I want you to really listen carefully to this so that you can change what you're saying to yourself and re-script it. One of the things that I did that really helped me is I made this decision that that anytime, whether it was a buffet or like desserts, or when people, at big dinners, anything like that, I made this mantra for myself, and it was, I decide. So I would inhale, think I, exhale, think decide. So I would stop, take a couple of breaths so that I could assess myself and what was happening with me and what was important to me. Because a big question that I was asking, I had to ask myself was, who am I eating for? Why am I choosing to eat right now? Is it, if I can enjoy it, fine. If I can't enjoy it, see, then that's a problem. That's where you start getting hooked here into this cycle. Okay, so if you come up with this kind of like a little mantra, and we'll do that on Saturday as well, to see how can you begin to start navigating through this. Okay, because even though these are aspects that are common, everybody here is going to have a different experience with it. Okay, sometimes there's trauma, sometimes there's not. Sometimes it's, like I have clients who go back to childhood table trauma, and we can actually work through that very quickly. Because what happens in this process, if you're in the habit of going away, of dissociating in some way that you don't even know that you're eating, okay, then that can also be related to an earlier experience, and that's easily resolved fairly quickly. So I hope this has been helpful, and this is day 2 of 5 days. So I'm going to be back on again tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Not exactly sure what I'm going to talk about, but I will put a post on, but you can expect to see me back here on a Facebook Live at 3 o'clock tomorrow. So if any of you have any questions, my contact information is there, and you're more than happy to call or email me, and I'll get right back to you, or post a question on the website, on the Facebook. And also, if you're interested in coming to my class, we do have a couple of seats left. Okay, so it's very personal, because eating is personal, and it's, again, this isn't a place where you come and you share all of this, because I tell all of my clients that if there's something that is really personal for you, you don't have to tell me. You just tell me that it is, and we can still process it out and heal whatever it is. So anyway, thank you so much. I am so grateful to see all of you here, and I look forward to seeing some of you, hopefully tomorrow, and hearing from you, or maybe even seeing you in a seat here on next Saturday. Thanks a lot. Love you all.